Welcome to Meet the Author, where you can join in on insightful conversations with best-selling and award-winning indie published authors. Your hosts today are Rob and Joan, who themselves are indie published authors, book publicists, and paranormal investigators with Tampa Bay Spirits, based in Tampa Bay, Florida. Thanks for dropping by. And now, on with the show.
Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Joan, and we're so glad that you're in our audience, whether you're watching us live on Wednesday night at 7 o'clock, or if you're watching a podcast later on, or just listening to the podcast. We are really, really happy that you are here in the audience. And I just have to say hello and God bless you to Robert White. Morning,
Hi,
all, he says. He says morning because he's in Australia. And Robert, how are you doing? We know that Robert had his leg amputated below his knee. We told you about that and to keep him in your thoughts and prayers. And we really hope you're doing well.
And we have been praying for you, sir.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we have. And I'm sure the audience has as well. And Chris Chrisman says, good evening, Rob and Joan. Good evening, Chris. We're so happy that you're here. George Dismuke says, I'm here, seatbelt buckled.
Hi, George.
CJ Peterson says, hey, y'all.
Hey, CJ.
Hey, CJ, we're glad you're here. CW Hawes said, howdy, Rob and Joan.
Howdy, CW.
Yeah, from Texas, so
there
it has to be howdy.
Howdy.
Marjorie Deering says, hi, I'm watching from my reserve seat. Ready, set, go.
Bet you have popcorn, too.
Joy Shelton, New York says, hi, Rob and Joe. Hi, Joy. So glad you're here. Connie Cleary,
Hi,
so glad you're here. Good evening, she says. Joe Conjal says, hi, Rob and Joe.
Joe. Hello, Joe.
Robert White says, doing good here. Thanks. So, you know what? You have a better attitude than I would if I were in your situation. But, you know, God bless you. That's great. Continue to do good. We'll continue to keep you in our prayers.
Yes, we will.
Okay.
So,
it's
November already.
I know.
Can you believe that?
Yeah.
November 1st.
So, can I tell them our news?
Why don't you wait for just a minute?
Okay.
I want to remind everybody about episode. We have some news to tell you.
Yeah.
Episode Rewind is coming up this Saturday. It'll be Brooklyn Quintana from episode 103. She was a lot of fun. Voice of Indie podcast right after our show on Blog Talk Radio. There's a little tutorial at the end of our show that tells you how to get over there to see Beam and Gary. Book World podcast on YouTube at CJ Peterson. That would be every Wednesday at 1 o'clock Central Time here in the U.S. Catch those folks. They do a wonderful job, CJ and Mike, interviewing indie authors. Next Wednesday, the 8th, will be the final 2023 Magnolia Bluff reveal. Kelly Marshall and Jinx Schwartz are scheduled to be on, and they have books 19 and 20. 19's coming up here in just a couple of weeks, and that's in the Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles series. And now in the news.
So, a British magazine has asked to do an article on our podcast. So we thought about it for 2 seconds and we said yes, as fast as we could say yes. Pretty exciting, right? I'm excited.
Me too.
Aren't you?
Me too, yeah. That's good. I mean, it's a good chance to break into a little bit more into the UK market. And
Chris Chrisman says, awesome. It is awesome. We're really excited.
Yeah. So
CJ Peterson says, sweet, congratulations. They said they wanted wonderful news. Joy said they wanted to do an article on our brilliant podcast.
Our brilliant. This is brilliant.
But I think that's the British way of saying
okay.
Cool or good or awesome.
That was a compliment.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll take it.
Marjorie Deering said, great news. It is. And Connie Clary says, congratulations. Thanks. And it's good for all of you, too.
It's good for everybody.
Paul Wallace says, hey, everyone.
All you guys who are authors and readers, you get exposed to new.
You get exposed now to a British magazine and, so that's awesome. We'll talk about all of you as much as we can.
And we have some other news.
Joe Conjal says, congratulations. And George Dismuse says, congrats on the article. Yeah, it's really fun. Yes, what?
Okay, can you bring up the brand?
Oh, sure.
Okay. So want to announce here a little plug for Return of the Jaguar. Return of the Jaguar is book number 4 in the Jaguar series by brilliant author George Dismukes. This story takes Andrea, Brandon, and Naja, the black jaguar, deep into the Mato Grosso jungle of Brazil on a mission to rescue 2 kidnapped children of Presidente Calderon. Along the way, they encounter Yanomami Indian warriors who are bent on revenge for the murder of one of their own. Now, this is just one of the many dangers our heroes face in this multi-layered saga. Return of the Jaguar will be available on Amazon worldwide by November 15th. Interested readers can pre-order a copy by next week, and Return of the Jaguar is published by Hollow Man Publishing Incorporated, operated and owned by none other than Paul Hollis.
So pretty exciting for both of them, Paul and
for
George. CJ says, looking forward to it, George, as are we. And a number of people have told us they're looking forward to it, including our daughter, Patricia. They've been waiting for it. Oh, George sent us these shirts. Can you see them? Isn't that cool? That's the cover.
This is Return of the Jaguar night.
Yeah. And hey, we're getting published in a British magazine night.
There you go.
But yeah.
All right. Well, we've hogged all this time, and now it's time to bring in Kay. Hi, Kay.
Hi.
We're a tough act to follow, I know.
Hey, a British magazine? I think that is the coolest news ever. That is awesome.
English.
Yeah,
You're doing very well.
We have a brilliant podcast.
There you go. It is.
Due in large part to our brilliant authors, including Kay Hancock, which we're very pleased to have here tonight.
And you're coming to us from way out west in the United States.
Utah.
Yeah. In Utah.
Out there in Utah.
Beautiful state.
Beautiful state. We love it out there. We love
country.
to visit there.
Yeah.
Marjorie Deering said, very cool shirts. They are cool shirts.
Yeah, it's a beautiful book cover.
Yeah.
They are. I want one.
Chris Chrisman says,
hi.
hello, Kay. And CJ Peterson says,
hello.
Hi. CJ, we just talked about her show. It's on before ours earlier in the afternoon. And yeah, you and she should get together. You should go on her show. It's a good show. It's a good podcast.
I'd love to. That'd be great. That'd be great. Well, everyone's so nice here. This is fabulous. I'm happy to be here tonight.
Chanel.
Hi,
how
Chanel.
are you, Chanel? Everybody knows
time.
Chanel. We haven't seen you in a long time. How
Hope
are
you're
you doing?
well.
Yes. And did you hear we're going to be in a British magazine? Okay, I've said that enough.
In the news.
CJ just said to let her know, and you guys can get together. We can give you her info after the show. Just stay on.
We could put Kay backstage and go ahead and talk about this again.
No, let's not.
No, okay, we won't do that. Just kidding.
And Doe Lovepore said, congratulations on your book. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. So you do have one book out right now, correct? Two.
Mm-hmm.
2 books. Yeah. That's right. You know what? You're right. Because now I remember what the first one was and what the second one was and what the story is, but not everybody does. First book. Dancing on Broken Glass. And I just know that the audience is going to love to hear this. Who published Dancing on Broken Glass?
Simon & Schuster published that about 10 years ago. I know. I got really lucky.
Oh, come on. The book is really good. Right?
Well, I like to think it was really good. It was, it's quite a journey to be traditionally published, and takes a long time. And, I got myself an agent, and I don't know how much of this you want to hear. But yeah,
as much as you want to know, we want to talk about.
It took a while. I I'm on this podcast because I'm now indie published, but um, traditionally, being traditionally published, I was thrilled, and I thought I had made it, and I thought, yay, Simon and Schuster. I actually could have. I mean, I got many, many, many rejections. Dancing on Broken Glass. The premise of that story is I write about relationships. I write about real people and real problems. And this story is about a marriage. And the husband has a mental illness. He has bipolar disorder, and the wife has a history of breast cancer. And so it was a hard sell. Number one, so I got a lot of rejections. But when I finally attracted an agent, she was a little bit reluctant, and it took me a bit. And she, originally, it was about three sisters, and one couldn't have any children. One shouldn't have any children because she had this cancer situation going on, and one wasn't interested in any children at all. And so, without giving a lot away, this agent said, I loved it until, 2/3 of the way through when one of these sisters took over the narrative. And she said, if you ever change it up or rewrite it, I'd be interested in seeing it again. And I took her at her word and reworked it and sent it back to her. And long story short, we worked together for about 3 years. This agent and I, and then she actually sold it at auction in three weeks, and so I thought, yay, and it subsequently sold in 8 other countries, and yay. And then I went to work on writing the second novel, Doozy House of Mourning, and a third novel, and started work on a fourth novel. And my wonderful agent for Dancing on Broken Glass moved on to a bigger and better opportunity, and she didn't take me with her. And so I was agentless for a while, and it's really hard to get another book out there without an agent. And so I don't know, 2 or 3 years after Dancing came out, I went directly to my editor at Simon & Schuster with Doozy, and I said, as you know, the agent that we worked with before has moved on, but I'm going to submit this first 3 chapters. And what do you think? And she was wonderful. She said, of course, let me see it, blah, blah, blah. So I thought again, I'm good to go. So she and I worked on Doozy for about a year. It was in the developmental stages, and we were probably on the second. I'd gotten the second editorial notes from her and was working feverishly, and I didn't hear from her. I usually had a really quick turnaround time from her. I didn't hear from her, and I got to the point that I was checking the Manhattan, New York obituaries after she died, and I was so nervous. I was emailing her, I wasn't hearing from her, and I thought, oh, this is terrible. And then one day out of the blue, I get this.
Right?
Oh my God, she died.
Yeah, that's serious ghosting.
I know,
but she didn't die.
I get this.
Spoiler
No, she
alert.
didn't die. I got the saddest email, and she just said, oh, okay, I'm so sorry. She said, this is my last day at Simon & Schuster, and I literally, it felt like a death. And I thought, what am I going to do now? And she just said, I've left you in really good hands with my assistant, and we're just about there anyway, so don't worry. And but we weren't just about there. And I was published under the Gallery imprint with Simon & Schuster, and so this assistant took it as it was and submitted it to Gallery, and it wasn't ready. Gallery, didn't want it at that point, and I thought, what's going to happen now? So I kind of was left dangling, and anyway, so this darling little assistant at Simon & Schuster ended up giving the manuscript as it was to a friend of hers who happened to pass it on to another agent that liked it, And that agent took it as is and emailed me and said, I really like this book, so how about I represent you? And I thought, okay, that'll be good. So she had it for a little while, and then COVID hit. And then I don't know if you know the history of New York when COVID hit, but it shut down. And she said to me, what's happening in New York now is that all of our editors have moved home with their significant others and maybe a child or two in these 800 feet apartments. They're working from home.
Yeah.
And so she said, work as we know it is just very, very different. And so in about a year and a half's time, my book was circulated, to my understanding, about 8 times. And I don't know if it actually got read that many times or not, but there was almost no movement on it. And my agent got frustrated. I got frustrated. And in the meantime, I kept writing, and I submitted another book, which is my 3rd book coming out. And so all activity on Doozy was suspended. And I said to this agent, well, I didn't know that was going to happen. And she said, well, that's what happens. That's an industry standard. We submit 1 book at a time. So Doozy was kind of dangling out there. And so I decided, okay, well, I'm going to take control of that book. And so I brought it back into my own control and decided to publish it independently myself. And I had so much fun, but I've learned so much, and I've never been so scared in my life.
So Robert White says,
it's a whole
saying "Don't worry to a warrior just makes them worry more," which is absolutely true, Robert. And Joe Conchel says, "Hi, how involved were you in the marketing of your first book with Simon and Schuster? Just how much involvement did you have?"
It was interesting because they would set things up for me. They would let me know that I had a publicist, but it was like, okay, you have this blog interview at this time, and you have this appointment, and you're going to. I didn't go on any kind of a book tour, but here in Utah, where I am, I did a book signing, and I did I was at a Barnes and Noble for a reading, and a little as a first-time author. They set up a first-time author thing, and some other authors came, and they did things like that. So they would tell me where to go and at what time to be there, and what time I was going to be interviewed for a blog, and so that kind of thing. So that's a difference because I'm setting those kind of things up on my own now, and so Simon & Schuster did that for me, which I loved. In hindsight, I thought, they kept me pretty busy. I did the work, but they told me where to go to do the work. And in this round with the Doozy House of Mourning, I'm working with a company called selfpublishing.com, which have been wonderful. They've actually kind of mapped out what needs to be done and how to do it. But now I'm making those calls. I'm arranging those interviews. I was combing through the most excellent podcast to be on and ran across Meet the Author.
Brilliant.
Brilliant.
Reached out to these lovely people, and they got back to me, and it was about I don't know 6 weeks ago, and in the meantime have been catching up on this, and thought, what a great venue this is, and friendly venue for authors, and really because this is new to me, it's not my comfort zone, and I'm a writer, for heaven's sakes, and I think most writers are writers first, and this hustle and this marketing of yourself, it doesn't come natural. And so I'm learning a lot, and I'm so that's kind of my story, and the bottom line is I love to write. I want to do a good job at it, and I'd love people to read my book. But what's happening is people are reading Doozy and discovering dancing, and people, dancing's 10 years old. It's still selling. Every time I get a lovely review from dancing, I say, well, if you like dancing, you might like Doozy. Yeah. And so they're picking up Doozy. So I have kind of a built-in opportunity because I was published before, because people have said, "You write? Have you written anything else, or is this author?" So that's been a bit of an advantage for me, which I highly appreciate, and I've used it to my advantage the best I could. So that's been helpful.
Chris Chrisman says marketing is
Marketing
hard, which is
you are so right. I'd rather have a baby.
I wouldn't. Joe Concha said the best podcast to be on. I had 6 of them, and now it would be a miracle. Terry M. Brown, author, also said, I think you'd find that you would have to market more with Simon & Schuster today. Yes, that's true, Terry.
I think you're right.
Then you had to 10 years ago. Publishers that are marketing for new authors. Lesson, yes. Oh my gosh, Joy says Rob and Joan are the best and so genuine. Thanks, Joy.
I'm finding that too.
But Joy should know. Poor Joy. She's on our other podcast. She's on our panel.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, I'm finding that you're so very lovely and just to talk to, and it feels just like we're in a living room chatting, and I so appreciate that.
That's what we want.
That makes it so lovely. Yes, please.
Yeah. I had a question on you mentioned selfpublishing.com.
Yes.
What other things? What do they offer? I mean, and you've been happy with them, right?
I've done some research on because I wanted to do it right. I think it behooves everybody that's going to go this route to do the very best they can. And so for me, I had to educate myself. And selfpublishing.com, I can't even remember for sure how I found them, but they offer a whole series of classes and workshops. If you're just starting to write, they offer those kinds of classes. They offer classes in marketing. They offer classes in if you need an editor, they'll kind of guide you in that direction. You can do some things that are free of charge. You can certainly buy some of their services. I know one thing that they helped me with. I believe it's a Facebook community called the Mastermind Community that is just authors. And I think one of the first things any author should do is find a support group on Facebook. And I found several that just help. And I know when I was trying to find a headshot, for my book, I threw out 4 or 5 different ones and said, what are your thoughts? And people were quite nice and said, what are you looking for? Are you looking for whimsical? Are you looking for serious? And I thought, I hadn't thought of that. Do I want this? Do I want a full body? And so they kind of just helped with that. And then I noticed that other people were doing the same thing. And then in the very, very beginning, I was looking for a launch team, and it was the same thing. I'm looking for some people, to kind of read my book, and I'm happy to read yours in return. And we needed some of that, and that was a good resource. And there were others. There's I think if you Google, writing support groups on Facebook, or maybe, I don't know, there were some others, but I found one for writers, readers, and editors, and I found one for, oh gosh, there was probably another couple. I could find a few and throw them on my website or something, but I just found, for me, I felt so alone and thought I want to do this right, because I don't know, I felt really vulnerable. I felt I didn't want to screw this up. And so I found some guidance,
you
there.
Found a support system.
Yeah.
Joe Conjal.
Joe
Conjal said, "What a doozy of a story." See what he did there?
I see that. That's a good one.
And Robert White says, Chris, it depends on what is being marketed. Being a jeweler, I can wear my designs, but marketing books would be difficult other than word of mouth. Marketing is difficult.
Exactly.
You could wear you could put your book on your head and balance it and walk.
Or you could wear it on your shirt.
Or you could put it on your shirt.
I love that. I so love that. Oh, I'm going to have to think about that one.
Oh, yeah. It's a good marketing tool. Chris Chrisman said, I'm about to release my 3rd book next month. I'm always learning from other authors. Isn't that the truth? Chris.
It's so
Right.
true.
And
I'll tell you one
Robert
thing I
says,
did.
brilliant, Chris. Hope it does well for you. See what I mean about the use of the word brilliant?
We need
Yes. I love that. I love that.
We need to take our first break here.
Commercial break.
If you can hold that thought.
Hold that thought.
That'd
We'll
be
be right
great.
back. Don't anybody leave. We're going to be right back.
Nobody
after
go
this short break.
anywhere. You can't leave. See you in
Well,
a couple of
they
minutes.
can use the bathroom.
Okay, you can use the bathroom. I'll come right back.
It's 1919, and Eric Laska returns from the war in Europe. Two new enemies await him in the small coal mining town he calls home. One is a threat to his relationship with Rebecca, the love of his life. The other, a bloodthirsty beast, is stalking the mining town residents. The townspeople suspect Eric of one of the killings. An old man and Rebecca's 11-year-old sister have seen the beast, but only Eric believes their story. To protect the town and clear his name, he's forced to prove the werewolf exists. Available on Amazon. The Horror Within by Marjorie Swift Doring.
Paradise, my prison. Charlie Flint awakens from a deep sleep and finds himself alone on a tropical beach surrounded by a palm tree jungle and exotic animals. He cannot remember who he is or anything about his life. First, he must find food and build shelter and protect himself from hidden dangers. As his memory gradually returns, it reveals what a very flawed person he is. A man who made too many mistakes, made too many enemies. The implications of the truth are staggering. How did Charlie get there? And will he save himself? Paradise, My Prison is the riveting new suspense thriller from retired Hollywood scriptwriter George Dismukes. Paradise, My Prison by George Dismukes is available in jacketed hardcover, softcover, and all ebook formats worldwide.
Madison Jackson loved being a cop. A young girl is raped and murdered near Burnett Reservoir. Madison vows to get justice for the child. Madison travels to the heart of Mexican cartel country. She is kidnapped, tortured. Will Madison ever make it home? Justice by Kelly Marshall, only at Amazon.com.
And we're back.
Howdy.
Terry M. Brown says, I tell people you have to be willing to dance naked with your book. and that's about the long and the short of it, to tell you the truth. Let's see, Joe Conjal said, now that you've been both traditionally and indie published, would you go back to traditional if it was offered to you?
I might if it came straight from the publisher, but I'll tell you, I don't know. I honestly, I'm having a good time, and if I can succeed at this myself, I probably wouldn't. The one thing that I don't know how to do is I don't know how to market my book to a foreign population.
Oh,
Simon Schuster did that for me, and it was published in, like I said, 8 other countries. And well, Simon Schuster didn't do that. My agent did that, and she retained foreign rights for me, and so I was able to. The agency did that for me. I don't know how to do that myself, so I've reached out to Brazil and Germany, which it was very successful there. And I just reached out to the publishers themselves with what I've done, and so it's sitting there somewhere dangling out there, but I don't have a contact there other than just the publishing house. And so I think that would be valuable if somebody did, but it wouldn't be who I've worked with before, probably, because I I just give people one chance to give up on me, and then they, that's all. So
Yeah.
it has to be,
Yeah.
it'd have to be, but I, I would definitely consider. I would love my book to be read and appreciated by vast quantities of people. So if publishing could do that for me, that'd be great.
You seem like the kind of person that kind of give people more than just one chance. I think you kind of roll along with them, don't you? For a while.
I think she gave them a lot of chances,
Yeah.
but then when they went through all that and she said she was done, you mean when you're done, you're done.
When you're done, you're done.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah. When I'm done, I'm done. But I like I said before, I think I just became a casualty of traditional publishing, and it takes a long time. And what happens is you become a small thing in a great big conglomerate. Now, if I was a celebrity or if I was a huge name, maybe someday I would be a huge name. But if they were going to be patient with me, I think what happens is I wanted, and I would hope for everyone that I wanted to find the agent that would stick with me for my career, and that was the dream. And when that didn't happen, it's just I'm old now. I'm old and mean now, and so I don't have a lot of time, to start over and get to that point. I'll be 120 by the time, and so if I get another chance and traditional publishing comes knocking on my door and they've got a deal that I couldn't refuse, then sure, I would do that. But we'll see.
Well, Chris Chrisman says, I'm on Kindle Unlimited and just discovered today that I can go wide with my print books through Ingram Spark. I lost a year of possible sales because I thought Kindle Unlimited was exclusive. Sheesh. Yeah.
No.
Well,
I'm on. Yeah. No, we did that too. We have Ingram Sparks as our distributor, and so we just have to market that to everybody. We just barely got on, made it possible for Barnes and Noble because we have Ingram Sparks, and you have to do Kindle Unlimited in 90-day increments, is my understanding. But you have to be really careful to pay attention to that 90-day cutoff mark, and then cancel it on that 90-day mark, or they'll automatically re-up it for another 90 days, and then you're stuck for 90 days. So you have to pay attention.
Okay, so you've had quite a journey on your publishing. Let's talk about your books now a little bit. You wanted to read a passage. Which book did you want to read from?
I want to read from Doozy. That's the one I just published, and it just came out in September. So it's been out about just a little over a month. Well, let's see. It's November now, so it's been out about 6 weeks. And Doozy, the Doozy House of Mourning is about a young girl. Well, she's 22, and she just has a very, very conflicted relationship with her mother, who was injured the night she was born, very severely. And so this is January's story. January is the narrator, and so I'm just going to read. This is just an introduction to January, and Claire is her mother. And so this will take about 5 minutes, if that's okay.
Yep.
I walked into my room, which was a mess of clutter, boxes and bags and piles of clothes. It looked like a place ready to be vacated, which it had been for the past 3.5 weeks, since the furnished apartment I was planning to lease had fallen through. I was now on a waiting list, but despite its current condition, the room still felt like home. And truth be told, it was going to be hard to leave. I'd slept in here every night since I was a baby, well, except for the few months after the fire. I was just 4 or almost 4 when that happened, but I still remember how before that, Claire used to sit in a chair by the window and watch me sleep. That memory is part of this room. It's part of me. My mother was always broken, her face not pretty, her walk not smooth. To wake up and see her there would have frightened me, I'm sure, if I hadn't known her always to be that way. But she was disfigured, like Grandy was tall and I was little. It's just who she was. It's who she'd always been, familiar to me in every way. And I remember that when I napped, she sat in a chair in the corner and watched over me. The fact that Claire was my mother was intelligence given to me from the beginning. No one ever kept that from me. But it was just a label that didn't carry any actual primordial meaning because Grandy was my imprint. Grandy was my parent. From my first awareness, she had been my primal source of security and belonging. Claire was a nice bonus, an additional someone who loved me, as evidenced by her keeping vigil over me while I slept. I never knew my parents, either one of them really, but there are many pictures of them from before. One sits on my nightstand. I see it every day, even if I don't always look at it. It was taken at their wedding, a beautiful bride and groom, looking idyllic for the camera. In the picture, Claire is exploding with laughter, and my father cannot take his eyes off her. They're gorgeous. They're dancing, so they're holding each other very close, and you can clearly see their love. It permeates the photo. They're my parents, and I came from them, but they are essentially strangers to me. My father died the night I was born, and my mother, who was hurt in just about every way a person could be hurt, was expected to die that night as well. There's a plastic bin downstairs full of her memorabilia. In it there's a newspaper, the headline of which reads, New Year's 2001 ushers in the first fatality, its first fatality, as well as its first birth, both in the same family. The drunk died too, but he didn't make the headline. My mother did survive, but she was never whole again, not anywhere near. She sustained a traumatic head injury and was in a coma for a long time, and then in a rehab hospital. It took almost a year for her to come home. I never knew the lovely face in the pictures. I've only ever known the one that is arranged wrong, with a palette of scars, a glass eye, and a smile that lifts only on one side. She claps a lot and blinks her yeses and nos because she is nonverbal. She makes sounds, but they are not words. Before I was born, she played the piano and danced with the love of her life, my father. Now she limps and doesn't speak and moves very slowly. And she used to watch me sleep until the fire. I've only fragments of that awful night, the faulty impressions of a 4-year-old, but those have rather fossilized in me. Trauma does that, apparently. What I remember most is that I couldn't breathe. That has always stayed with me, like drowning in smoke, and not just drowning, but being held down to drown by a tremendous weight crushing me. I couldn't move or breathe because Claire was on top of me. I'm 22 years old now, and that memory is still rich in unyielding detail, even if everything else from that night is less clear. During the 4 months that our home and mortuary underwent massive repairs, we stayed with Aunt Margaret, Grandy's sister, but not Claire. Claire had to go live at Potomac Manor, which, in more of my faulty kid reasoning, was because she started the fire. But my mother had nothing to do with the fire. Of course she didn't. That was just the way I connected the dots as a traumatized little girl. It was defective wiring in a restored building, factual details that meant nothing to a 4-year-old. I'd been trapped under my mother while flames danced everywhere around me. There was no room for logic, not when I honestly believed at the time that Claire had tried to hurt me, not save me, which is exactly what she'd done. My grandparents tried desperately to help me. They took me to counseling and to play therapy, to clergy. They soothed me through my relentless nightmares, but nothing worked. I was deathly afraid of Claire. And in that irrational state, I could not comprehend how everyone else could continue to love her. It made no sense that we would visit her, that Grandy and Poppy would take her presents and talk and laugh and love her like nothing had happened. Me, I recoiled. I acted out. I couldn't tolerate being around her. I pushed her away for a long, long time, and I hurt her terribly. I know I did. I don't push her away anymore, but I'm not close to her, and I don't know how to be. So I avoid spending time with her. It's awkward and very troubling. My feelings for my mother are very, very complicated.
Wow, that was beautiful and incredibly sad, right? Beautifully written, powerful words, and so sad. Your heart just breaks for everybody involved, you know?
Yeah.
Let's see.
So the story, it it now, what happens is an attorney shows up, and January's maternal grandmother, Claire's mother, has died. And when Claire was 16, her parents, very wealthy, they bought her a Steinway concert grand piano, and this attorney wants to leave it to January. And in so doing, there's she discovers a great deal about this mother she's never really wanted to know very much about. And so the whole story is about her discovery of her mother, and and the love story of her parents, which is was kind of forbidden, actually. And January just discovers her mother, and that's the story.
Joe Conjal says, beautiful reading, haunting passage. And that's true. That's right.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Now, in your bio, you say that you used to be a psych nurse.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's a career. Mm-hmm.
Have you woven a lot of true stories into your...
Yeah. Well, I come from a place of a lot of experience, and I love relationship issues. I love I don't do anything that isn't relatable, I don't think. In Dancing on Broken Glass, my characters are, like I said, is a bipolar, and it's about a marriage. And these things are these are about real people and real circumstances. They're fictionalized, but these are definitely circumstances that I've been part of. And the same with the Doozy House of Mourning. This is a very relatable story about a disabled mother and a young girl trying to relate to her mother all of her life, having a traumatic experience with her on top of that, and just distancing herself, and then discovering this awesome person that was her mother, and what she went through, and the parents that she lived with, and discovering that she was something quite special. And January just wasn't ready to know her. She discovers her mother at the same age that she was, so about 22, when she fell in love with her father. And so that makes January and her kind of peers when she's kind of reading her diaries. And that has a very intense effect on January as she's getting to know her mother as her own peer. And what she gave up, to be with her father. And then in the end, she kind of discovers her father as well. The piano is also on the cover. There's a piano off in the middle of this snowy field. And the piano is kind of it's a solidifying factor between both the mother and the daughter. And they have that in common. And in the end, it kind of unifies them.
So when you write about bipolar or about traumatic brain injury, you write about it from knowledge, your own knowledge of being a psych nurse. Yeah. So that's great. Right. You bring that to that authenticity. Well, authenticity.
Authenticity.
Trying to thank you. Authenticity.
There you go.
To your characters.
Right.
So
that's the goal.
HANCOCK says, I am so proud of you.
That's my hubby. He's so sweet. He snuck in here during the commercial and said I was saying too much. So I apologize for that. And I bit his head off because he said, no, I don't. So he's got my back.
Mark, she's doing fine.
She's doing great.
You know she is. Just teasing you. Chris Chrisman says your writing makes it real. Yes.
Oh, that's the best compliment I could possibly have. Thank you so much. I don't know what anyone else's goal is as a writer, but that's mine. And I love that feedback. I don't know about anybody else, but I have a small readers group of other writers that I write with, and it takes a long time to sound real when you're writing and when you're reading it, and when you're reading something quite wooden, And in the beginning, in the beginning, when you're starting something new, it sounds wooden, and when it starts to feel real and flow easily, then you know you're onto something. And so thank you, Chris. I so appreciate that.
And
Thank you.
Joe Conjal has a question. Did you get to choose the title Dancing on Broken Glass, or did Simon and Schuster choose that title for you?
I did get to choose it, and the first title that I had was The Short Hectic Life of Lucy Chandler. My character is Lucy Chandler, and at the just before I submitted it to Simon and Schuster, I changed the title to Dancing on Broken Glass, and my editor said, "Oh, this never happens, but I really like this title. I think we'll keep it." And I thought, "Woo! Yay!"
Now, do you know Lulu?
She's the best friend of her. I don't know.
She is great friends.
Okay, I need to know who that really is. Let's see. They have to text me and tell me who they are. I like that.
Well, we need to take our last
commercial break.
Running a little late on everything, but when we come back, we'll have our book giveaway. Yep, we'll have our book giveaway, and we'll tell everybody how to reach you.
Okay. That's great.
And we'll tell you who Lulu is. She just told us. So
we'll be right back. We'll be right back.
The suspense will kill you, but wait.
The clock is ticking. Can Gracie uncover the truth?
Philip Pliant is the wealthy opportunist plastics dealer and CEO of Pliant Industries. He's also a master thief, creating a pervasive threat to the manufacturing infrastructure in the Caribbean islands markets. With the cartel as his stealth client, the naive city leaders have been seduced, enabling the production of more than three-dimensional building materials.
The expected profits are monstrous.
Is the art group, now led by Gracie and the family heirs, strong enough to win against this predator?
Can JJ's cats act on the root cause analysis in time?
Will Gracie be able to squash Pliant and the cartels?
Gracie never considered their lives would hang in the balance. The clock is ticking. 5, 4, 3.
Many secrets are hidden within the darkness of the jungle. Behold, this one about a man, a woman, a black jaguar, and an ancient Maya legend. Two Faces of the Jaguar is a novel by George Dismukes that will take you deep into the jungle and capture your imagination until the last word. Two Faces of the Jaguar is book one of a trilogy. Two Faces of the Jaguar, where only the adventurous dare to read.
Two Faces of the Jaguar, The Lost City, and The Jaguar's Quest are available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and many other bookseller websites. Two Faces of the Jaguar, the book people are talking about. Get your copy today.
Hello, we're back. Rob is just sending you a private chat to tell you who Lulu
How do I
says
see
she is. It'll be right there.
Let's see. Oh!
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
I know who she is. She is a doll. She's such a doll.
All right. Good.
Okay, good.
That's good. All right.
Sometimes we get visitors that we're not sure who they are.
But it's good that
It's
you know
okay.
Lulu.
We need to verify.
Welcome to the show,
Welcome,
Lulu.
Lulu.
Okay, so now shall we
Yes.
go ahead? All right. Let me tell you. Here's Kay's website. It's www.khancock.com. And I'm going to spell this for all of you who are just listening on a podcast instead of watching on a video. It's KAHANCOCK. And her email is KAHA at KAHANCOCK.com at K Hancock, obviously. All right, now we'll do the book giveaway.
Book giveaway is a little different tonight. The first 6 people to sign up on the mailing list at www.khancock.com will win ebook copies of either Dancing on Broken Glass or The Doozy House of Mourning. So you'll win an ebook. All you have to do is go to her website and get on the mailing list there. It'll come up right when they pop into the website. Is that right?
Right. It's on the very top.
Just
and my techie guy is keeping track of it. So
there you go.
And
let me know.
You're able to find all the ways that you can reach her and all of your social media, your LinkedIn and all that are on your website. Yeah.
Right now,
exactly.
if you weren't able to watch this live, folks, if you're listening, just listen, even if you're just listening to the podcast a month from now, go ahead and put a request in and see.
Oh, absolutely. I'll make it worth your while.
Yeah, we're going to.
I have the greatest tech guy, and he put a button on my website that you can read the first 3 chapters of Doozy just by pushing the button. So that, if anybody wants to do that, that's available too. So
awesome. That's awesome. All right. We're just
doing some cleanup
work. Just a minute. As we said, sometimes we get some comments that, that we really don't need anyone to see. There, we're done.
Yes.
Sorry about that. This is a worldwide
that's
podcast,
awesome.
and we get some worldwide stuff that's worldwide different. Yeah.
So you've got stuff in the works. You've got some books coming up, right?
I do. Yes. Ivy and Steels will be coming out probably late spring, early summer of next year, and I'm going to do the same thing. I've learned so much from this process of indie publishing, and I'm really having fun actually. And it's very empowering. Even though it's way outside of my comfort zone, it's been very, very empowering. And I like the comfort of being traditionally published and letting everyone else tell me what to do, and everyone else make all those decisions. But I have loved being in charge, and I've loved making those decisions myself. And so anyway, Ivy and Stills is going to come out probably May, June-ish. And that is also, it's got a little bit of a mental health piece to it. My main character, there's 2 main characters. She's Ivy Talbot. She was dumped at the altar. She's from Savannah, Georgia, dumped at the altar and has just a terrible time. So her dad lives in Monterey, California, and he brings her home. Mom lives in Savannah, dad lives in Monterey, and he brings her home. And he's trying to find her a place to, kind of heal up. And so he rents a pool house in a friend's house. And at the time, these 2 kind of kids are house sitting. And Bo is one of he's a jeweler, and he has OCD, serious OCD, and so he's just not handling this stranger living in the pool house. So anyway, it's a strange kind of adaptation for him to have this Ivy that's kind of heartbroken, and he just is having a hard time having her in his space, but he's trying to be kind to her, but he's very, very intrigued by her, and she is very intrigued by him. So it's their story. And
awesome. That sounds really good. Now, Marjorie Deering says genres can get murky. How would you categorize yours, Kay?
I have just stuck with literary fiction on for both Doozy House of Mourning and Dancing on Broken Glass. I think Ivy and Stills is probably more just women's fiction, but yeah, there I delve very deeply into the relationship issues. There's nothing really light about either Doozy House of Mourning or Dancing, although there's some humor about them. But these are pretty deep relationship issues, and so yeah, literary fiction.
We all
I
have
would say.
deep relationship issues. And
Yeah,
I actually think we all have mental health disorders of one kind.
Well, I think you're absolutely right. I've been pretty, for a first novel with Dancing on Broken Glass, I've been amazed that after 10 years, that book is still selling and still garnering pretty amazing reviews. I look at it, and the only thing I can say, the only reason for it is that it's a highly relatable book. There's mental health issues touch everyone, and if it's not you personally, it's someone you know and love.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, and so a book like that, when you think, it's so funny when my agent said, okay, I'm going to submit this to 15 people, editors, and I said, okay. And then the day of, she says, the foreign agents are kind of buzzing about this, so I'm going to submit it to 10 more. And I didn't know what that meant really, but she said, so just sit by your phone and I'll let you know what's going on. And then she said, I usually don't send rejections to my people, but I do want you to know I'm going to send these because they're so nice. These are really nice rejections. And I thought, what? And I started getting these. I just don't know where I could put a book about bipolar and cancer, but it's so nice. The premise is it's so weird, but so nice. And then that's exactly what happened when people started reading it. It's sad, but it's so uplifting, or it's a sad story, but it's so it ends making me feel good. It's ultimately about love and commitment and devotion to two kind of broken people, and we're all a little bit broken. And so that book is a little bit timeless, even after 10 years. People look at it with fresh eyes, and I get long comments on Facebook or Amazon
for real
about that book.
Yeah.
And I think Doozy's a little bit the same way, because they're about relationships, and we're all in relationships, and we're all imperfect people trying to make it in this life. And it's just so interesting to me. And that's the kind of book I like to read. It's really the kind of book I like to write. So
there you go. Mark Hancock, your husband, wants everyone to know personalized signed copies are available at khancock.com. Chris Chrisman says we all have issues of some type. That's
so true. So true.
And Marjorie Deering says, I absolutely love that title, Dancing on Broken Glass, amazing. And Mark Hancock says, and a screenplay is in the works for Dancing on Broken Glass.
Or Dobig.
That's true.
One of the two.
Yeah, BG. Yeah,
I think
that's true.
It's really important to take the stigma out of mental health issues, because Kristen said we all have issues of some type. I have ADD, and I have OCD, and I probably have some other Ds that I was first diagnosed with PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, which I can still remember. Oh, Chris Chrisman just said he has PTSD. When I was first diagnosed, was more than 30 years ago. And I remember looking at my doctor and saying, I can't have PTSD. I was never in combat. He said, you don't have to be in combat with post-traumatic stress disorder.
That's what the common belief was. Then.
It was for me. Everyone I knew who had PTSD was a veteran. And I was like shocked that I had it. But, we've all had trauma. Everybody's had trauma,
Exactly. And And people experience trauma differently. Some people might be able to handle this kind of trauma much differently than somebody else. And so
That's right.
there, yeah, and you're absolutely right. Everyone's carrying a burden. I love what Robin Williams said, or other people have said it.
God bless him.
Yeah, everyone you meet is carrying some kind of burden. So be kind. Be kind. Assume that everyone is carrying
Something.
some kind of
And it's
something.
true.
Just be kind.
Chris Chrisman said, and we've only been able to talk openly about it in the last few years. That's true. And Chris Chrisman said, 4 years now we learned to deal with it. And that's also true. And I mean, we have family members who are bipolar and they now feel comfortable that they can talk about it to everyone and let everyone know, okay, this is what I'm dealing with. And once we get to that point where we can say, these are my issues, then, maybe people have a little bit more grace and understanding for what everybody's gone through, right? If, you can't help it if you're bipolar, and there's medication and therapy, but it doesn't change the fact that you're still dealing with bipolar issues.
You carry that diagnosis. That's true. But there are so many functional work-a-day people that struggle with those kinds of things.
Absolutely.
That are those invisible people. I mean, what we see, what the media concentrates on, and maybe the movies even, are those people with that umbrella of mental health that are the extremes. Well, there's a whole lot of non-extremes that function every day and work and take care of their families and take care of themselves, and occasionally have very bad days. But for the most part, we deal with what we have to deal with and get on with our life. And like Chris says, we help each other.
Chris Chrisman says we can help each other.
Yes,
and Joe Concha says, be kind to everyone. You never know what someone else is going through. Exactly. But I love this. Exactly. Mark Hancock says 5 free ebooks still available at khancock.com email list.
Hop in there and
there you go.
It'll be a podcast tomorrow, Mark, and more people will be listening to this.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be great.
Yeah, I think this is great. I think your books are very deep, and beautifully written, as I said. But it's also wonderful to bring that awareness of this is like what real life is like. This is what everybody, the person next door has gone through. And and to be like Chris Chrisman said, we can help each other. And Joe Conjal said, be kind to everyone, because you don't know what they've just gone through. So don't bite the person's heads off at the cashier who's making you wait in line forever, or the person who cuts you off, or
you don't know.
Just be kind.
You don't know.
Yeah.
And you don't have to take anything personally. Usually it's not has anything to do with you. If someone's having a hard day,
you're not the center of the universe?
Can you imagine that?
Doesn't everything revolve around me? That's what we all think.
That's brilliant.
Okay, why did that happen? But that's also human nature. We do think that. We always think that. But the truth is, it doesn't have anything to do with you.
It's right. And the more secure we are in ourselves, the more we can be generous to others, and just say, that has nothing to do with me. So what can I do to help you? I can see you're having a bad time. What can I do to help you?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I've learned.
That's absolutely true.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing.
Absolutely. This has been so nice. You're lovely people, lovely audience.
We have the best audience.
We do.
I'm telling you.
You do.
We appreciate hearing what you had to go through, and I'm sorry you had to go through all that, but it's...
Well, live and learn, right?
Yeah, it's good to know. So we're going to move you over.
But first, let's let me bring up some more of these.
Continue to do this.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Joe Conjal says, wonderful and interesting show tonight. Thank you to Kay and, of course, Robin Joan. Thank you.
Thank you,
Joe. Paul Hollis says,
Paul,
terrific show. Thank you, Kay, Joan, and Rob, who has his own publishing company called Hollow Man.
Hollow Man Publishing.
Hollow Man Publishing. And Chris Chrisman says, a wonderful show. Thank you, Kay. And C.W. Hawes says, brilliant show tonight. Thank you, C.W. And George Desmuke says, great show. Thanks, George.
Thanks for hanging in there, everybody.
Yes.
And
it's been a really fun night, and
next week,
I really enjoyed that reading.
Next week, we're going to visit Magnolia Bluff again for the last time in 2023. The reveal part 4. Kelly Marshall and Jinx Schwartz are going to join us, so you don't want to miss that. See what's coming up here before the end of the year.
The last 3 books in the series.
Yeah, and then we go into 2024. Yeah, it's going to be crazy. So I guess, anything else you want to share?
No, I don't think so. Oh, I know. I have a picture to show you.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, I forgot
Where
about
did that go?
It's up the other way. There we go.
All
There it is right there.
This was so fun to do, guys. You know, we were hippies more than 50 years ago. So we decided to be hippies for the family Halloween party. Here we were. Oh,
so we're going to dress that way all the time now.
It's sad, but you know, I used to be a redhead with long hair, and I used to wear clothes a lot like that. Maybe not quite that brightly colored, but definitely that.
My hair was almost that long too.
Oh, his hair was that long. Oh, George says, don't forget the 20th of December.
Right. We won't forget that, George.
Yep. And Chris Chrisman said, I saw the original photo. LOL. Yeah. And Joe Conchal says, I hear you're going to be in a British magazine.
We could be. And that's the picture we're going to.
Yes. That'll be the picture. We'll say, this is who we are, and this is what our podcast is like.
We wear this all the time.
Marjorie Deering says, love it. Paul Hollis says, great image. Yeah, we were going to send it in as Doc and Zeta, but, you know, then I thought, nah, he's too much taller than I am. And Joe Conchal said, great costume. Yeah, it was pretty funny. It was a fun night. Okay. Yeah, that's all, folks.
Hippies forever.
We are hippies forever.
Okay.
Just ask our kids.
Now, where were we? Oh, we were leaving. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us. And until next time.
That's all, folks.
Bye.
Bye.
Live every Wednesday, your Voice of Indie hosts Beam Weeks and Stephen Gees welcome authors, musicians, publishing industry pros, artists, and assorted creative guests for an exciting interactive hour. Call in during the show or post questions and comments on Twitter for responses in real time. Meet your favorite indie creators, learn inside tips, network, and promote your work. The link for each week's show is pinned on Twitter atop @VoiceOfIndie. And you can receive the link every Wednesday morning in your inbox by subscribing to our newsletter at freshinkgroup.com. Check out Voice of Indie every Wednesday on Blog Talk Radio and catch hundreds of episodes archived everywhere from our websites to our YouTube channel and Spotify.
Thank you for joining us here on Meet the Author. Make sure you stay up to date with our show by clicking like, follow, and share. And you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and more. See you next time on WLFE-DB.com.
You've been listening to WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows.